Hey guys, Best of Zo here. Welcome to the 6th episode of the arena. This time, we're going to go with
I
Priest.
won't let you down.
Now, the first three cards we have our Light Warden, Stampeding Photo, and Golite Seer. Now, this one, since I don't have any synergy with Murloc, and Priest is, even in Constructed, is not the best card for Murloc. Light Warden, Light Warden lost some of its value with the new Light of the Naru card. You can get that one for free. So the Stampeding Kodo is the best pick here, even though it's 5 mana and it's 3/5. But sometimes you can use this card to kill off an opponent's 2 or 1 health, 2 or 1 attack creatures. So this card is best for control and come back to the game if you are a little bit behind. I'm going to pick Stampeding Kodo. Zombie is a great early game drop. Mortgage Warden has the problem of 1 attack, which is too low for even for defending. And there's a lot of cards that your opponent can play and just kill this card right away. Now the difference is Shadowward Death is a card you want to play in late game to get rid of their big creatures. However, Zombie Chow is really powerful if you play on turn 1. And since it has 3 health, you can usually use your hero power to trade your Zombie Chow to another creature and heal it up. Therefore, you get a 1.5 for 1 mana. For 1 mana. For 1 card, I mean. Or in another scenario is you can use buffs such as the Dire Wolf, or you can use something like a Dark Iron Dwarf. You can use this card to kill off a 3 health creature. So that's a really good card in early game. Shadowward Death is also good in a more control type of meta, but you have to keep in mind in the current meta is usually face. So if you don't have a board control as a priest by turn 4 or 5, and usually it's really hard for priest to gain board control in the early games, you're pretty much lost. It doesn't matter if you have like 100 Shadowward Death, it's not going to help you very much. Now in this turn, these 2 cards are really good picks. Stranglethorn Tiger is a good 5. It helps you to position into mid games, help you to kill off their creatures, and while you still have a creature on board. Spiteful Smith is a good card. 6 health is really hard for your opponent to deal with, and you can trade with that some force for a 4 or 3 4 or lower drops and heal it up. So this card has the potential to go for 2 or 1. 2 for 1. Now I'm tempted to pick Annoying Weapon because Priest really lacks the dominance in the early games. And as you can see in the current meta, a lot of rush decks play Annoying Weapon, so they can play like a Flame Imp on turn 1, go for face, and then they play Annoying Weapon on turn 2. Basically, you don't have a way to remove the Annoying Weapon. And on the other hand, you're playing defensively. This card allows you to delay the match by a turn or 2. So hopefully you can draw a lot of allows you to draw into higher mana cards easier. Shadowward Death again is a good pick. This is okay taunt 3 mana for 3/3. It's not the best because 3 creatures usually get traded off anyway. The Dark Cultist, I would say the Dark Cultist is the best one to pick here. It's an early drop. It helps your opponent either use silence or they had no other way to deal with the Dark Cultist. And 3 mana 3/4 is basically a really good stat for 3 mana. 3 mana. Yeah, so I'm going to pick Dark Cultist. Now, Magna Reader has 1 health for 3 mana, which is never going to get picked in arena for priest. Maybe it has some use in let's say class with charge, like warrior. So you play this Magma Reader and you play charge, you do 8 damage in 1 turn, but that is not likely going to happen. If you have to play that combo in arena, you are not going to go above 5 wins early. However, the other 2 cards are also horrible. Flying Machine is a mech, and it has Wind Fury, and it has one attack. Mogi Warden has taunt, but it's really a bad taunt. It doesn't kill off any creature it defends. For example, if you're in a board like, for example, you're protecting your zombie child, or you're protecting your dark cultists, and they have a bunch of 2 attack or 3 attack. It doesn't even help you to kill off their creatures. Flying Machine has one use with pre-stacks is when you can use Valence Chosen, then suddenly this card becomes great. If you can use Valence Chosen on this card, it becomes 3 mana. Well, actually now it's 6 mana for a 3/6. Then it dies very, very rarely. It dies not that often, and you can heal it up. So this is not a good taunt. This can be useful if you draw Light Within the Rule. But since I don't have Light Within the Rule, and this card also synergizes well with Light of the Rule, it becomes 4 mana, 3/11, which is surprisingly difficult for your opponent to deal with. So 7 mana for 3/11 is still better than Flying Machine. The only reason you would pick this one is for max synergy. And as you can see, I don't have a lot of max synergies, not currently, and chances are I will not go into max synergy for the arena pick. So I'm gonna pick Mogishan Warden. Well, this is another 3 cards that are terrible. Mind Blast deal 5 damage to the enemy hero is usually not the best card because, well, unless you really need to burst down your opponent from 5, then this doesn't have any other uses. Raid Leader and Salty Deckhand are also bad picks because 3 mana for 2/2, and you had to play something else the previous turn for this to gain value. Salty Deckhand is a pirate, yes, but in this case is probably a little bit better than Raid Leader because the reason why is if you can play this early game, then perhaps you can trade this either with an opponent's hero power or maybe with their 2/1 or maybe with their 3/2. That's the best case scenario. Now in late game, Raid Leader has a slightly more value than Salty Deckhand, but problem is you also have to have some other creatures to combo with Raid Leader. Otherwise, it's just dropped as a vanilla 2/2. So since I'm beginning to value early game a lot more, I'm going to pick Salty Deckhand. Wisp, well, yeah, that's early drop. It has 0 mana 1/1, but the other 2 cards are much, much better for the picks. Wolf Rider is basically like a Dark Bomb. You play this, you deal 3 damage to something, and you get 1 for 1. Yeti is also a really good card because you can play this on turn 4 and trade with another creature, you can heal it up. So it goes for 1.52. And let's see, do we have a lot of early drops? We do have several early drops that helps us to stabilize the game. So I'm going to pick Chillwind Yeti to help us stabilize the game even more and position us into the mid game. Mind Blast. You know, I was wondering if we have an arena pick with 10 Mind Blast, maybe Mind Blast will gain value, but we only saw 2. So if I pick the first one, I pick this one. And technically, I can do 10 face to my heroes, to my opponents, and they will never see it coming. Like, who picks Mind Blast? Like, this he just picked Mind Blast. But then if he sees 10 of them, then yeah, he's a really good pick. But since it's very unlikely that we're going to get a lot of Mind Blast, and Dark Code is a really good card for 3 drop, we're going to pick Dark Codist. Again, the problem with Silverback Patriarch is the 1 attack. It is not good enough. Not good enough. 3 mana for 1 attack is really, really bad. Nightblade has 5 mana for 4 deals 3 damage to the enemy hero. So basically, it's It has like a mini Mind Blast attached to it, but it's a 5 mana, it only has 4/4. Compared to this one, which has ability to kill one of the enemy minions. So this one gives you board control and this one doesn't. And this one 4 health dies to a lot of creatures on turn 4. So the difference is, do I want to pick the Wolf Organ Infiltrator or Soft Steel? Now, if I did not pick Celsi Deckhand earlier, I would be more lenient to pick Organ Infiltrator. But the thing is, once you have a certain number of early drops, it is not as valuable as if you pick, let's say, Soft Steel, which allows you to, when most of the time when you're playing against Priest, you are in top deck mode against our opponent. So if you pick a Soft Steel, and you can get some more cards than your opponent has, and you can see what they have, and you can play the card against them. So if we did not pick Celsi Deckhand, this is a better version of the Celsi Deckhand because Stealth is pretty hard to remove in the early games, and basically your opponent has to waste either an Arcane Missile or a Flame Cannon to get rid of it. And that's going to be really, really, really overkill for 3 damage, or I don't know, maybe if they play a Bomber, then yeah, the Bomber can kill the too. But then, yeah, the other scenarios, Celsi Deckhand and Worgens, they're pretty good 1-drops, but in the late games, they're both not as good. So I'm gonna pick Soft Steel. Light Bomb. Since I don't have Holy Nova, Light Bomb is really good removal. Because the other two is, this one requires you at low health, and most of the time when you are at low health, basically your opponent's already going to have pretty dominant board control. Enhance Mechano is fine if you are winning, and then this card can help you win more. Or maybe in the extreme scenario, which I had one before I played Deathwing. I played Deathwing against enemy. Well, was at low health, and he wiped the board, and he had a lot. And then I played Enhance Mechanical the next turn. I was able to get Wind Fury on my Deathwing and hit him for 24, and he only has 22 health. So that's an extreme version for the use of Enhance or Mechanical. But most of the time, Light Bomb is going to be great. Micro Machine is a really good, really solid early drop. Shadow Power Shield is also a really good early drop. And Shadow War Pain is good for you to kill these early game targets like the 3 for Pain. So the difference is, do I want to pick a card which I'm able to trade with my opponent's minion more easily and for card shuffle? Because this one also draws you a card. And in Arena, card advantage is really important, especially when we get to the late game and you have to keep top decking to win. So, since I don't have any kind of other draw mechanics besides Soft Steel, I'm going to pick Power Steel. Mind Vision is gain a card from your opponent's hand, which sometimes might work. You can just Mind Vision their only card and whoa, it's Flame Strike. Oh, now you know you have the Flame Strike. Or you can pick Explosive Sheep, which has a death roll of 2 damage, and Gurubashi Berserker. Gurubashi Berserker is really good in Priest or in Mage. Mage can ping it off, though it gets a free enrage, and Priest can heal the Gurubashi Berserker. Now, the question is, do I want the Explosive Sheep for potential AoE, or do I want Gurubashi Berserker for potential mid to late game threat? This one and this one, both of these cards can have a potential to bait out a Silence. This card can sometimes bait out a Polymorph or even Hex. And this card, let's see. I want to pick Explosive Sheep because at least it has max energy, and maybe I'll draw into something to do with mech, and at least it's an early drop and pre-selects early games. I'm going to pick Explosive Sheep. The worst case scenario is it plays it on turn 2, but they have like 2-3 and 1-1, or 2/3 and 3/2. And it's basically like it's a card like Doomsayer, because either they have to go for face and like trade for it, or they just blow up their own board. So I'm gonna pick Explosive. Do I have a lot of Death Rattles? If I don't have, I have one Death Rattle. I have two Death Rattles. I have three Death Rattles and four Death Rattles. Wow, I have a lot of Death Rattles already. Undertaker might actually be a might actually be a great pick here, since I already have four Death Rattles. Another good pick is Stranglethorn Tiger, which is solid stat for 5 mana, 5/5, and stealth. It's really hard for your opponent to deal with. They need a spell power flame strike or spell power flame cannon to kill it off if they're really desperate, or maybe they're unlucky, or maybe if you're unlucky, their ogre can hit it and then you lose the stealth. But since I already have a lot of Death Rattle in my deck, and this is a pretty good early drop if you can get Death Rattle to activate, I'm going to pick the Undertaker. Now I'm almost half cards in, I only have early games, so I have to keep in mind of not picking too many low drops and start picking high drops so I can survive mid to late games. Because if this is turn 9, let's say, and then you have only 2 and 3 drops, Sheeps and Noiltrons, and then they play a big card like a giant, 8/8, then, well, you either have to stack all your board in the giant, or you just go for face, and then he'll just nuke you down pretty fast. Now, Mech Warper or Balance Troll. This has good synergy with mechs, but I don't have a lot of mechs, and this one, maybe I'll play this one. Maybe I'll play this one, but they're not good mechs to play. So synergy with Mech Warper. Valence Chosen is a really solid card because it gives you a minion +2/+4, allows you to pay, let's say, on one of the early games, one of your 2 drops to their 3 drops, 4 drops, and you still keep it and you can heal it up and trade it for another card. Shattersun Cleric is also solid. Allows you to trade your 2 drop into a 3 drop, or sometimes a 3 drop into a 4 drop. Really helps you to stabilize the early game. Novice Inventor is, well, let's see. Novice Inventor is not as good if you play an early game. And if you play a late game, at least it's a shuffle. And for a priest, where I don't have a lot of ways to gain cards besides Power Shield and Thought Steal, this card has its use. Murloc Raider, I'm not going to pick it because this is like a Murloc Raider. 1 mana 2/1 helps you to stabilize early game. I already have one, I will not pick this. Shattersun Cleric is probably the best pick here. It's 3 mana, it helps your another minion to trade with your opponent's minion and have 2 minions. So I'm gonna pick Shattersun Cleric. Holy Nova is I don't want to say the best pick, but it's a really good pick. Ogre Magi is probably the worst pick. I like Salt Steel a lot. But I really need another AoE to stabilize the board. Yeah, I would say Holy Nova is the best pick. So, Holy Nova is it. Lightspawn is basically a 0/5 in Arena, 4 mana 0/5. Your opponent plays a Silence. So it's not as good because everyone runs at least one Silence if they can find one. Shrinkmeister is a lot better because the +2 attack can help you to combo with Stampeding Portal, which is best case scenario. A Money Berserker is also alright if you can manage to pay this into another minion, erase it, or you can heal up for another fate. However, Shrinkmaster is much better for priest. Ooze, Rifleman, or Acolyte of Pain. Ooze, I would like to say, is really good against weapon classes like Warrior and Rogue. Sometimes Paladin too. Well, most of the time Paladin, if they manage to draw a lot of true silvers. Acolyte of Pain is a not so reliable card draw in priest. 1/3 dies to a lot of late game buffs And if you play this early game, it just really doesn't help you gain board control. One attack is going to not trade with many of their creatures. Iron Ford Rifleman deal 1 damage. Well, Priest doesn't have the ability to deal 1 damage, so it has its use, but a 6 Swampwood has much higher tempo swing against many other creatures. Loot Quarter is fine. Mad Scientist, well, I can use this to combo with Undertaker, but this one combos a lot better with the Undertaker and Wolverine Infiltrator since I have a pretty decent of number one drops. 3 1-drop is really good for Priest. I'm gonna take Loot Quarter because it also draws me a card. Alright, Illuminator, if I control a secret, well I don't have a secret so I'm not picking this card. Python Summoner is, well, 2 mana 2/2 is okay, but Azure Drake is a lot better. Azure Drake is a lot better than this one. It draws a card, it has potential that it has a potential for me to do a lot more damage with Holy Nova. And also it's a 4/4, so it's really hard to remove for your opponent. I'm going to pick Azure Drake. Ooh, Young Priestess, +1 health to another friendly minion. If I really need 1-drop, I will pick Young Priestess, but I have 3 already, and decent number of 2-drops, so I'm not going to pick Young Priestess. I could go with another Azure Drake for the card shuffle, or I can pick Light of the Rule. Most of the time, this restores 3 health to a target, and also it summons a Light Warden, which is pretty good value in Arena. And if I can pick, if I'm lucky enough to see Alternate Soul Priest, this one becomes still 3 damage and I summon Light Warden. Azure Drake, I will consider pick Azure Drake if I don't have one already, but since I already have one, I'm going to pick Light of the Nerul. Northstrike Cleric, Ardent Squire, Divine Shield. Divine Spirit, that's it. Divine Spirit. Divine Spirit is the weakest one. It requires you to have a creature, and most of my creatures here, except for this one, don't have that much health, so it does not gain that much value. Ardent Squire is below average 1-drop if you really need a lot of 1-drops, but I have pretty decent number of low drops. And Cleric, in the worst case scenario, is a card shuffle, so I will pick Northfire Cleric. Annoying Tron already have one, so I am not really tempted to pick another one. Ogre Magi is okay 4-drop, 4/4/4, but there are much better 4-drops. And Clockwork Gnome has Death Rattle, which synergizes with my Undertaker, and also gives me a spare parts. And the spare parts can be really useful sometimes. And at least and lastly, it has a max. I'm gonna pick Clockwork Gnome. Well, see, this is the board. Board has its use, but not as much in the priest. Basically, like 1 mana, Holy Smite, but it only does 1 damage. Goldshire Footman. This card, would I consider pick this card at all? Maybe if I'm really desperate for a low drop, that I need to hold the board a little. 2 mana, 2 health, sorry, 2 health dies to probably everything in the game. And Ogre Brute, even though he has 50 chance to attack the wrong enemy, but it's the best pick here. 24 cards in, I really need higher cost creatures, like Tempo Enforcers, or some other cards with 6 health, 6 attack or higher. Now I can pick either Balance Chosen or Thought Steal. Thought Steal gives me 2 cards from the opponent, and Balance Chosen allows me to trade favorably. I am going to pick Balance Chosen because it has some synergy, hopefully, with my Holy Nova. So it deals 3 damage instead of 2. I'm going to pick Balance Chosen. And he also helps me to retain my creatures like Yeti. He becomes a 6/9. So he suddenly becomes a really good late game creature. So he's really versatile when you play Balance Chosen. You can play early game to help you crit better, or you can play late game to help you retain the creature and becomes a really big threat. Lightwell is, well, Lightwell, he doesn't have any attack. So I have to combo it with, where's the card? Yeah, I have to combo with Shattersun Cleric. Zero attack in arena basically doesn't do much. An Alarm Bot. Well, I have more 2 drops, more 3 drops than I have 4, 5, 6 combined. So Alarm Bot is basically, he plays this card and shuffles with a Shrink Master. It's really bad. It's better in a deck where you can innovate a lot of big creatures, or you can play Alarm Bot and you drop the big creature. So in arena, it doesn't help you that much as a priest since I have so many low buffs. Matter Bomber is the least worst pick. Deal 6 damage random minions. And priest can chew up the damage and can possibly use the Northstrike Cleric to help you draw a card at least. Now I have another Valence Joe that I can pick, Spiteful Smith or Murloc Raider. I will not pick Murloc Raider because I have way too many low drops. Valence Chosen is alright, but Spiteful Smith is a solid for 6. I can use my hero power to heal it up and help me to transition to late game. Because right now, look at my board. This is technically not a 5-drop. And this one, and this card, basically my highest creature cost, highest creatures are Chewen Yeti, Lizard Drakes, and Matter Bombers. So I have 3 high creatures, that's it. If I don't pick another high creatures, I can't deal with the enemy board at all. Now, 27 cards. Novice Engineer is basically a 2-mana shuffle with deck. Reckless Rocketeer is like a fireball. Do I need a lot of card draws? Well, that's a card draw. That's like a card draw. That's a card draw. So 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 card draw, which is pretty good. And I really need ways for me to deal with big creatures. And Reckless Rocketeer is okay for that purpose. 5 attack usually allows me to trade for their big creatures late game. Now, Cuban Stalker is fine if you play this early game. You can trade for an opponent 2/3 or 3/2. Sour Death is what I'm going to pick here because I don't have any big creatures and I only have a limited method to deal with enemies' big creatures. Therefore, I can't survive in late games because all my cards are early game. And I have to pick Shadowward Death so I don't die if they play 8/8 Giant or something. Ooh, this is not a good pick. I don't have a silence. I don't have a secret, so Secret Keeper is horrible. The only choice here is to pick Ancient Mage because I don't even have a way to give the Ancient Watcher because I don't even have a method to give the Ancient Watcher a taunt. So Ancient Mage. That's a really bad last pick. So now this deck is great in early game, somewhat good in mid game if I can trade effectively. And hopefully before they put too many of their big creatures on board, I can kill the opponent. Which means in a typical situation, a priest mirror match is going to be my weakest point if they can manage to kill my creatures. And I only have 1 Substeel, so hopefully Substeel can give me some good creatures. And the only way I have to deal with big creatures is Reckless Rocketeer, Light Bomb, Spiteful Smith, Mad Bomber, as a drink, which, along with Chuba and Yeti, is not late game, it's more like mid game. So the only spell I have to remove late game is Shadow Word Death. So overall in this game, if I'm able to control the early game, which based on what I have is very likely, and they don't have a removal, I will be able to steamroll the opponent. But if they are able to kill off my creatures and reset the board, I will have a really hard time to come back from it. I predict about, depends on the opponents I have. Maybe I'll get to 7 wins if I'm lucky, if I'm playing it right, but it's going to be really tough to get to 7 wins. So, who knows? Maybe I'll get to 6 wins and retire. Right, so that's it for this video. I'll make another one. That's how this arena runs goes, and see you guys next time.